gotta love it. This is the Culture and Camaraderie podcast, the most thought-provoking, introspective, industrious, creative discussion with my boy, Tiberius.
Waggy. Was good.
If you're hearing us with crystal clear audio clarity, that's by Laxera.
You get me.
If you'd like that for yourself, then please hit him up on
Order
IG.
now. At Laxera.com.
Order now. While stocks last.
Straight in. How you doing, bro?
Blessed. Blessed and highly favored. It's been a nuts week and so.
Weekend soul, yep. Busy.
Week and so, yeah, bare busy. Like
Busy.
I tried to not be busy.
Yeah, I haven't spoke to you much this week, actually.
No, we haven't. Like, funnily enough, I wasn't even in the mood to like speak. I was only in the mood to tweet, and I tweeted recklessly a lot.
Oh,
but
see, I'm not on Twitter, man. I
Yeah.
just can't get with Twitter. Part of me is happy that I never got into that whole Twitter debacle.
yeah, I don't even want to be in it.
Like,
anymore.
cause it's so funny, cause that is how a lot of people are you see this whole Twitter stuff where people are getting like called out for stuff from years ago.
Yeah. Oh well,
They
that's
let
not
them
me.
reckless selves be put. Of course, but I know that probably would have been me to some extent. I would have said some mad stuff that would have got pulled out of the bag. That would have ended my career. So thank the Lord, I did not stay on Twitter. It's just not to happen. I'm not a bad guy.
No,
I'm not a horrible guy.
That was a compound laugh.
But you know what? I just gotta say, bro. I'm keeping it real.
Yeah, no, because here's the thing, right? Because I only came on Twitter when I was like 24. So
So yeah, you've got a bit more
I was
wherewithal.
old. I
Yeah,
was like,
exactly.
Like, everything
See, imagine
that,
being on Twitter when you're 16, 18.
No, fuck that.
Bruh.
What was that, fam? What was I doing?
I don't even know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I think back about to that time. I
Yeah,
was
fam.
barely conscious. You're like, whoa.
Yeah, I was just like, have to sign up for college, okay?
Crazy.
Have to go to uni, okay? Like, shit, I could have been doing anything.
Exactly. Yeah, man. Because you see, did you know? Because I saw this thing. Do you know that guy? It was so funny. Because, well, not what he said, but he was he done something with this charity. Basically, it was like this board he had, and he held it up at a concert, I think, and it said need more beers or something like this, a specific brand of beer, and it went viral on Twitter essentially.
Yeah.
And he people started donating to him.
Swear.
They started donating to him, but what he started doing is he made it bigger, and he done more, and he said, need more beers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to donate this money to a Children in Need Foundation, essentially. I think I can't remember exactly what the foundation was, but it was children in hospitals or something. And the brand, and there was these two brands. It was the beer brand, and there was someone else. I think there was another charity that got involved, and eventually he ended up he ended up taking in about $1 million for them to donate to the children's hospital.
Mazzoline.
But what happened was a reporter who was looking into him dug up his old tweets.
Oh wow.
Where he was being like ridiculously racist towards black people specifically. And there was this big sort of outrage about like, well, are we still gonna give the money or?
Well, no, you give the money.
Exactly, but
you're
this is
also a racist cunt.
No,
like,
of course.
That is what happens.
Of course.
You want like that? Wow, like.
But the plot thickens, yeah.
Like, I can't get with racism.
Yeah, look.
I don't know. I can't back it.
That goes without saying. But
I'm
my
dark
point. But my point is, what actually ended up happening? You see the same reporter?
Yeah. He has
his Twitter. People went into his Twitter, and he had the same thing.
Oh wow.
He had the same shit.
Oh wow.
And he was giving it the big boy. But see, this is what I'm saying. Like, this is what the problem is with outrage culture is every single person, no matter what, no matter how clean and fresh you think you are, no matter how clean and fresh you think you are, you got something in your closets.
Yeah.
This is the problem with this cancel culture stuff. Of course, he was racist, terrible. He should not be held in some high regard, just because of what he's done in terms of money. It's great what he done. It was a really good thing. He raised $1 million. But my point here is what I'm making with this point is that it's actually terrible, because this is a prime example of this guy was on his high horse, and even after he got caught, he started giving the same excuses that the other guy was giving, and he was going, nah, it doesn't matter. He was just going, well, look, I've caught him. Peep this. It's absolutely awful. Like he didn't have some in his back pocket. And then when he got caught, he's saying the exact same things the guy he outed was saying.
The only thing that you're going to see is my arguments on Twitter with other people about dumb shit. Really.
Yeah, on Twitter maybe. But look, in life, I'm talking about in life and large.
Like, no,
everyone's got demons, man. Everyone's got things. There's stuff about everyone that people, they would prefer why the public wouldn't know.
Well, I wrote a book about my demons.
Wow. Look.
I wrote a book about it.
Some people have less than others, but everyone's got demons. No matter what anyone says. I don't give a damn. There's stuff that everyone has that they wouldn't want people to know.
Oh yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah.
But when it comes to stuff like that, obviously that's different from having stuff that's personal with you, where you don't want people to know. But it's
like,
still, my
half
point
the
is,
dumb shit that I done in uni, like I'm glad I wasn't tweeting through that, first of all.
Exactly.
And I'm happy.
Exactly.
Like I would rather it stay there.
Exactly.
Because, like, really and truly, I was.
But that's my point. Cause
like not even that like anything that I was doing was particularly bad. It's just like. I was just a kid back then, really and truly.
But see, what do you think about that then? What is your views on this whole cancelling shit?
I don't cancel. Like, I even had like a weird argument yesterday, like about cancelling people, artists specifically, and I said I can't cancel an artist, and then someone brought up R. Kelly.
I was about to say that exact same thing, and I was like,
I
still held my ground.
Why would you bring up like, no, because here's my thing, right? I will not put someone outside the bounds of normal human behavior into the purview of a human perspective.
What do you mean
like
by
he's operating on a different frequency than everybody else.
What do you mean by that though?
With his behavior.
With his behavior, okay, yeah.
Like he's like he has terrible sordid behavior that has probably scarred multiple
people.
Yeah. And he's been implicit with his behavior, and he's obviously abused his power in multiple different types of ways. So you can't put him in the same bracket as a Sabrina Claudio that was also racist on Twitter. Like, that's just a different level. Like, his racism had a whole machine not racism. His behavior had a whole machine behind it.
Yeah, because that has been going on for however many. There's so many people
since before I was born
as should be held just as accountable.
Yeah,
as he is.
And that is my point, because because obviously like when I think about racist tweets, I don't think that's how we're gonna start the podcast. But when I think about racist tweets, it's like, what makes you want to tweet racist tweets? Like, do you think it's funny? Like, I want to know the mindset behind.
There's a weird psychology
like
behind
just
it.
because obviously, like, what I've noticed about Twitter is that because people can't say something out loud, they think it like, and it's easier to type it. But obviously, if you buck them and you actually talk to them properly, they're never gonna say those type of things that they tweet. Half the people won't say stuff that they tweet or write, which is like
almost doesn't feel real, does it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like this kind of netherworld where whatever you write doesn't mean anything, but then again, your behavior makes people hold you accountable to other people. So you as an avatar, your writing is a perspective of you, sort of thing. So it's like
do you bring that closer to you, by the way?
The whole thing?
Yeah. Try and move it more to your mouth.
Pause. Yeah. I think we should listen if it's buzzing or not.
No,
But
it's not. I'll be able to see it on the way.
yeah. So like, just that whole Twitter thing. Like, when I realized that a lot of people tweet stuff that they can't ever say out loud, it like kind of changed my perspective on what it even is Twitter. Because like me, things that I tweet I can say out loud, I can probably even defend in a certain type of way. If it's like, I will defend my jokes and my sarcasm and even my point of view. But that's about it. Like that's pretty much my range of things that I around Twitter, innit? And I can say those things out loud and I can articulate them, but that's because I'm a writer that also has a book out.
That's on Amazon right now, $11.99.
It's on Amazon right now.
Oh, you supposed to say normal voice. We was going with the flow. We was like a subliminal plug. That was like a subtle plug.
Nah. Genuinely though. What is this? What was I? Yeah, so like
So your thoughts and the things you're saying
like
are congruent
like, I
with what
know,
you
I
put on
know,
Twitter.
but me, I am like I've really noticed that I'm a big weirdo. So I operate in a different mind frame because I wouldn't say stuff that I wouldn't tweet stuff that I wouldn't.
So
like, say.
It's all congruent.
Yeah,
what you say and what you'll type on there is congruent.
Yeah, like I don't even know if I want to say this. Like, okay, on a tangent of a tangent. No, I don't think I can even say that. I can't say it.
I kind of want you to say it. I don't even know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, it's gonna be mad wild. It's fucking wild. Actually, it's not wild, but like it's a tweet. Damn, where was my head at? Off the tangent. Let's back out of that.
Okay,
road.
we're not gonna reversing. Wow.
Let's reverse that.
This is the first reversal we've had. Oh my days.
I'm actually sweating. Oh, but yeah, I've obviously got a website, and I tweet and I write and like I'm an artist, so my tweets are kind of part of my art. Like the way I've tweeted this year is also a representation of the life that I've lived throughout while writing my book.
Mm-hmm.
So if you even got a transcript of my tweets, you take out a couple of the rubble that's there and clean it up, you'll see the method behind everything. Literally from December time all the way. You'll literally see it from December time all the way, not even, maybe even November, like, because everything started in October, innit? Mm-hmm. So October time all the way to this October, right? So it's this like years worth of understanding of the behind the scenes, and you know there's even a creative way that you could even package that into something else. And not saying that was purposeful and not saying it wasn't purposeful, but it's just to say that my book has a backstory to it, and it also has a thought process behind it. And a lot of my tweets are representations of what I did this year. But that's different for other people, which is really the main point. It's like not a lot of people can tweet, or like not a lot of people don't know how to even archive themselves. Because when I started Twitter, I was obviously heavy into social media marketing and heavy into tech, right? So I understood that every single thing you tweet, whether you delete it or not, will be there forever. I was under that understanding, and you only delete tweets to clean up what you would like to see. So like let's say you're doing a painting and then like you done something wrong with the painting and then you put acetone on it to like wipe off the paint, but the paint was obviously still there and you obviously still see the marks of where the acetone was, right? That's exactly what deleting a tweet is. It's not saying that the tweet wasn't ever there, but
it's somewhere still on a database or server or whatever.
Exactly. Or even like when you draw over, like when you're doing the shape of a face, and then you draw over the line, and it's like you draw the outside. It's literally that type of. It's literally that deep within it. It's like not saying that the lines weren't thicker, but the lines are still there. But the lines were cleaned up, and that's why I say, like, if you take out the rubber and you package it in a certain type of way, my tweets can be a representation of the BTS of my book, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's like I came clean onto her with that, and obviously this was big around, not right in the middle of, but like on the outskirts of the outrage culture thing. So like I started tweeting in 2016, 2017ish. So like people were still debating on Twitter back then and everything. I was like, this is tiring. Like I came on Twitter to have fun. Like man was in a dark place and time. I was like, let me just tweet. But obviously, I deleted that Twitter. But I love like, and that's why I said, if you remember, episode 1 of the podcast or something, I said something like, not even episode 1, it was probably episode 2 or 3. I said something like, I deleted my Twitter, but it had a lot of ideas that I really liked. So that's why that's part of the reason I started my website, because the same year I really started writing on my website was the same year I deleted that Twitter. So a lot of those ideas are reimagined on my website. Anyways, bouillabaisse. that's really it.
That's it. Bouillabaisse.
Yeah, like that's.
And in conclusion, bouillabaisse.
Yeah. So in conclusion, the booyah is in the bays. We need video.
We so do.
Don't worry, I'm saving up for a camera. And obviously we're saving up for a mic as well, so we'll probably have both around the same time. But yeah, do you have anything else on that Twitter subject?
On that Twitter subject, no, because I do not subscribe to Twitter. I am not part of Twitter. I have an account, but I never use it.
Yeah, I tag you on your account a lot of times.
I know. Part of me wants to, but every time I go on it, I just don't know.
You shouldn't.
Just for when I see other conversations with people, I don't actually see much merit other than trolling, complaining about certain things, and just complete like it's actually almost as if it's built to tear people down. It's such a weird place.
Yeah, no, because like,
with the conversations, like even people who I respect, the way that I see them talk, this is where they air out how they really feel about things.
Yeah.
So they'll talk about, like, a lot of the producers that I see, it's like, they'll be like, producers who do this are just da 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 da. If you do this, da 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 da, or you know what I mean. And it's not even like just outright like horrible per se, but it's like there's like it's not that those things are necessarily bad or oh you're a dick for saying that. It's more just that's not really there just doesn't feel anything really constructive about it, or it's like there's not a. It is like it's Twitter is like a site devoted to YouTube comments. It's like a site that was created around YouTube comments. It's almost like that, but where you can post GIFs and videos and shit, which makes it worse. You know? Because remember back in the day when YouTube comments were like, I don't know how they done it, but they kind of made them better than it was. They're still not great, YouTube comments, but I think they, for some reason, I don't see people being as bad as they once were. Because some of the stuff I used to see, it was actually horrible. I used to see some really bad stuff. It's like Facebook back in the day. Remember when Facebook became porn for like a good 6 months? No. Mate, all that was being posted on different pages that people were following, there was just porn popping up. It was kind of like how Twitter is now.
I like, there are like, I'm very PG with my stuff, innit? And so I block porn and I block fights, like on all of my social media.
Yeah,
you're not gonna see a
people
first
videoing fights is actually wild. I find that so wild.
You're not gonna see a first trap on my explore page. You're not gonna see a model, or you're not gonna see me post like reposting any type of sordid behavior, really, unless I tweet
Unless
it,
it's funny.
then I deleted it.
Unless I tweeted it.
No, but generally, I just don't like those are the two things. Like, you know, when World Star Hip Hop was big.
That was probably what started all this
Yeah,
shit, innit?
so it was like back in those days where where like everything was just nasty. And what was the other page? The ones, you know, back in the day when they were doing the beheadings and stuff, and like
those used to be on Facebook.
Yeah,
Casual.
Yeah, exactly.
Casually on Facebook. That's my exact point. Beheadings, fights, just like disgusting stuff, just casually on Facebook. And you might get it here and there now, but they're getting so good. They've got teams devoted to weeding this stuff out. It's like there's been times, and this is a bit dark to even talk about, but there's been times where people have committed suicide on live, and there's teams and regulators that are actually looking for stuff like that they can just go, you know, and get that off as soon as possible. But my point is, it's like when there's that sort of energy, like you can't do anything but, I don't know, become a part of that when you're in it. Like you kind of, for anything you say to almost be relevant, it's almost like you're complaining. There is a side to it where it's like inquisitive and people can talk back to the community and they can like answer questions and stuff.
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
half my stuff is like candid thoughts, and the other half is pictures. It's like I post a lot of fashion on my page.
But that's what I mean, the candid thoughts. That it's but this is the thing. Even with that, it's like there's this kind of like hot takes element to it, and it's just bound to cause energy. That's like, you know, it's and I don't think that's necessarily bad, but I just think more time with this sort of thing of hot takes, and you're trying to make a point, like people trying to make points and say how they really feel, like naturally inherent in that, unpopular opinions cause unpopular reactions, you know? So it's just hard for me to get with that kind of energy. I don't necessarily think it's the worst thing in the world. Twitter's not a nice place, and I think there is some merit to that, sort of having a place where you can sort of say what's on your mind, as long as it's not truly negative or tearing people down per se. But it's just hard for me to subscribe to that energy of hot takes, man.
I don't know where I would write, unless because then I'd write a lot more. I'd write a lot more articles, I think, if I didn't tweet. Because I stopped, because I used to do tweet threads on like creative thoughts and like London stuff, and like just being a London creative, like a lot of threads, like yes, stupid amounts, and a lot of them are gone now, but a lot of them are inspired, have inspired, I should say, articles that I've wrote, just like the normal articles, not like the actual essays, but just articles, innit? So I don't know necessarily where, because you're able to like just like Twitter's like a place where I shoot my drafts, innit? So I throw my drafts out there, and if it looks good or if it has like some sort of merit, then no, even before it's even a draft, like I say it in my mind, and then like I say it again in my head twice, and then I say it again in my head a third time, and I'm like, is this a good thought?
But see,
and then I think about tweeting it, and then if it's like, and then I
do you do the same things with your blogs though?
Bro, I'm thinking about, like, there's articles that are about to drop that I have been thinking about for a good year and a half.
Yeah, but have you been thinking about it word for word in the way you've written it?
Word for word.
You think about the tweet in that way because you're like, you say it back to yourself in that tweet.
No. I say the thing, and then, like, obviously you kind of amend the way that you write for sentence. Like me, I write in sentences. Like,
so you write your tweets the same way you write your blogs.
Full stops and sort of thing.
You approach it in the same way.
I write it in sentences, and the tweet is 240 characters, so it's like different. You have to make sure an idea, if it was to be taken out of context, it fits like that. But on an article, it's like it can be a long thing, and it can be a big chunk of a paragraph, and it can make sense like a paragraph. But in a tweet, you have to like kind of take the base of the idea and put it in a tweet. So it's like it's two different thought processes, but because it's like, you know, doing a sketch and then like you're really getting your hand loose and all of that stuff. It's like you're not gonna think about the lines, but you have like this imaginary outline that you see on the paper. That's like, okay, this is kind of exactly what it's gonna look like, but it obviously doesn't come out the same way in your mind. But what you've envisioned on the paper is somewhat like it's supposed to be. So now let's say you're doing a thumbnail. That thumbnail is a tweet, but an A4 illustration is completely different than a thumbnail. You feel me? Like when you're doing a storyboard, it's totally different than when you're doing what's it called, a beauty shot. And a lot of my articles, well, a lot of my series of articles are beauty shots, and then there's a lot of articles that are just like great illustrations, and that's kind of the way that I picture it in my mind. It's like you get like a nice little storyboard that was a tweet, and then I think about that tweet again, I look it up, and then I say, and then I think about a second part to that tweet, and then a third part. And if it has real merit, it's gonna be like 4 consecutive tweets of 240 characters. Then, but I never write it and I never post it, so I take that out of the context of Twitter, and then I really like kind of dive into the idea, and then like now I'm kind of like backing up of like doing long articles and making sure that I do like about 200 to about 400 words. Like I don't even like to hit 400, like maybe 350, because like I like to stay in the bracket of a quick read, like 1 or 2 scrolls, because I've noticed that that it's just more digestible, and I can add a second part to it if I so choose. But like, because a lot of my 400 to 600 word essays are just big, like they're just big articles. They just look big, and you don't want, like, when you're writing an article, that's different. When you're writing an essay, that's different. When you're writing a book that's out on Amazon, that's different. So,
yeah, you gotta say what your book's called, man. Tell
I don't even
everyone again.
remember its name.
Wow. Look at this guy. Are you joking? You're a prick. You're an actual dickhead for that.
No, I remember its name.
Melancholy Maelstrom on Amazon, $11.99. Melancholy Maelstrom.
Oh, fam, A Diary of Silver Linings.
There we go.
Oh, fam, do you know what's funny about that? Oh man, that's such a sick name. Low key, high key it's not, but low key it is.
High key it's not.
Yeah, it's like a long title, but it's a unique title. Like, it was meant to be rhyme and reason, but obviously.
Oh yeah. So
I asked you about that, and you said Melancholy Maelstrom doesn't sound like something that Damilare would write. And I said, what do you mean by that?
Did I say that? I can't even remember having that
It's
conversation. I'm not
literally
even
a
gonna
text.
front. Or was it a
I
text?
can screenshot.
Oh yeah,
you
no.
the
Now I
text.
remember, but I don't remember having a conversation. That's why, because when you said I said that, when I didn't say that, I wrote that. If we want to get pedantic,
so you wouldn't say it out loud.
If we want to get pedantic,
so if you wouldn't say it out loud, but you would text it.
No, because you didn't ask me in person, because I would say it out loud. So fuck you.
No, but you can't handle the truth.
No, yeah. Well, it's
No,
not the first
Melancholy.
time. I'm not mad.
No,
at
wait.
it,
Wait.
but
That name is quite unique,
no, it is.
and it came.
But wait,
from
when you said
a
rhyme and reason,
space.
I get what you mean. Melancholy Maestro. Well, because rhyme and reason, that is like a phrase that's coined that people use.
By poetry.
It's kind of like, if the shoe fits, wear it. Kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that kind of phrase. Like, everyone knows that phrase.
Yeah, I'm really big on alliteration. By the way, a lot of my stuff is alliteration. Like I use a lot of alliteration in the book as well. To be fair, I like double meanings. I like alliteration, and I like multiple syllabics. So it's like
yeah. See, but that's why I like. I think that's why I like Sir. Sorry, talking about, but that's why I like Sir, because of
and
the
Frank
way,
Ocean.
Yeah, they're good at it.
Yeah,
because
like
they write like rappers.
yeah, like that's literally how my book is, bro. You should buy it if you can.
Mixtape dropping soon.
It's coming out November 20. Yeah, so because the idea behind the name was like it's kind like, well, actually the original idea was a picture, and it was meant to be a series of 4 paintings that yeah.
Interesting.
So this is
Was that your? He
Did you hear
squeaked,
that?
bro.
Did you hear that squeak? I was like,
That
whoa.
was weird. What
Yeah.
happened? Did you
No,
breathe
I
out?
breathed in, and I don't like.
Oh, that's mucus, bro.
That's yeah, must be. So like I'm big on transmedia storytelling, basically.
Mhm.
Like, as you guys may very well know, like my tweets, my Instagram posts, my Facebook posts are all different types of storytelling, kinda. Sometimes my Instagram posts clash with my Facebook posts, but my tweets will never ever look like they do on Facebook, because I remember there was a time where I would just tweet my mind on Facebook and people would actually like take that as a whole status update, when it's like I'm just flicking a coin. Like I'm just like that. But I've noticed that, well, I noticed back then Facebook updates would be real, like there would be real life events, like because obviously I remember a time in Facebook where you could just like write anything, right? But people take Facebook updates so serious.
What do you mean when you could write anything?
Like you could just write your mind and like people would read it.
Oh, so it was kind of like how Twitter is.
Yeah, before the.
So what do you think changed with that actually? Because
Oh, do you
I
want to
remember
actually know
that.
the history?
That's
Okay,
interesting.
so-
'Cause I remember a time like, bro, I've been getting those.
Yeah.
This is what you said 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I've been
So
getting some of
basically, there's like there was a Twitter migration in it when in 2010 when parents came to Facebook. So when the first
cool.
when the first wave of parents came to Facebook, that's when everybody left to Twitter. So, but there was obviously the OG Twitter, like me.
It was this thing like, yeah, you should get a Facebook. I remember those.
Good
times.
gracious,
That's so crazy.
follow, like add me on Facebook was like a real phrase, like you would say in school, and it's like, why? Wait, what was one of the like? Why aren't we family on Facebook?
Yeah. I
yeah.
still got bare brothers right now.
Yeah.
I think we might even still be brothers on there. Actually, I gotta check
No.
that. That's funny.
That is jokes, man. That is jokes. But like there was that time on Facebook, innit? But
And you change your middle name to some next thing.
yeah, like you could change your name to anything, and now it's basically
That's
like,
kind of where they messed up, isn't it?
yeah.
They made it too clinical. It was
Yeah.
too
Like you have to have your real name on Facebook
clinical. Is
now.
not the right word.
You can't really like post pretty much anything. Like I remember I wanted to post a picture of Naomi Campbell.
Sterile. That's the word. It's too sterile.
Yeah.
That was the word I was looking for. I knew it was like a hospital term.
Okay.
But anyway, go on. Sorry.
Bouillabaisse.
But yeah, just because too sterile. Like it tried to. But hey, we're saying that like it's not still one of the biggest social medias in the world.
Because it's the biggest doesn't mean it's gonna stay. Like IBM is still one of the biggest corporations, only because they have many factories. But you know that's a different story for a different day.
Well, yeah, every business has got to change and evolve and move.
But are Facebook moving? What direction are they moving in?
Well, look, do you think Mark
Facebook-
Zuckerberg's still in control of Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook is a political weapon,
Yeah.
and
I don't get how though. Well, yeah, I say I don't get how, but everyone, even though
you can
I don't
find
use
a
it.
friend
Hold
in
up.
Russia today.
This is the funny thing is, this
That
is
is
what I
how-
think it is. Even though most people don't actually use Facebook now as much as they use other ones, most of those people still go to Facebook. They still look at Facebook. I'm one of those people. I don't really use it. There's
I
like
use
groups
Facebook
and
a
stuff
lot.
I'm a part of, but I look at it a lot. I'm on the page a lot. You know what I mean? You still didn't offer me a coffee, man.
You
You're
don't
a terrible
drink
host,
coffee.
bro. Yeah. What did I drink when we was here last time?
What do you mean last time?
When
You've
last
only drank
episode.
coffee once.
Why? Because you literally offered me once.
You only drank coffee. You said
You
don't-
literally offered it to me
You said
once.
that you don't drink coffee.
Did I?
Yes, you say you
Don't think
only
so.
drink coffee as if it's a pre-workout.
No. Oh yeah. I
Those,
do usually.
yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes I do want coffee. I want you to offer it
Okay.
to me so that I can say no.
This fucking nigger. Oh fuck! I was about to go in. No, okay. I'm a massive fan of inappropriate jokes, right? But obviously, you can't really be doing them on something that you're gonna post to the world. So we might have to edit that part out. No. Good gracious me.
But yeah, what was we talking about?
Facebook. It's like I don't really
Facebook, yeah.
care about talk about social media.
Yeah, we went in. So we
I
just
don't know,
yeah
man.
yeah.
Yeah, like
It's
we might
funny.
have to- yeah. What minute are we on?
We're on 35.
All right, beloved. This is the Culture and Camaraderie podcast, the most thought-provoking, introspective, industrious, creative discussion with my guy Tiberius. If you're hearing us with crystal clear audio clarity, hit up Lax Era for all of your production needs.
Laxera.com.
If only on thesurface.com.
There we go. On the surface.
So what do we want to talk about today now that we started the podcast officially?
So, no, do you know what? Today, I was gonna say, how do you have people in terms of like your creative stuff telling you what you should or shouldn't do?
No, because everybody knows I. Excuse me, 2 seconds. Do you know the day that you're asking? Let me get a sneak peek of your book. There was 5 in here.
You're a pussy, that's what I'm saying. This guy is actually a pussy.
No, okay, Tyler. Like, if
Okay,
you listened to the
and
last podcast,
what was I
there
gonna
was
say?
a copy of my book.
No, before he begins this, he forgot the name of his own book before he was
I
gonna
didn't
say.
forget the name of
Yeah,
my
he
own
did.
book.
He had to look it up.
I didn't look it up. Good Jesus Christ! You can't say a joke once. Do you know what? Yeah,
Wait, where you going?
this is amazing.
No one has context.
I'm flicking from. I think we should start with what this year has been, which is
We're almost to the end of it. What was it? Month 10. Oh my god.
because basically, alright, I spent this whole year like I didn't go out. Like I still haven't been to, like the last time I was in a club was probably like a year ago. Like on a club night, like all the way to 2 o'clock in the morning. Like that's over a year ago, right? And the last time I've been out was around 4 months ago. So like that's only to say like every time like the man then wanted to link up, I was like, yeah, no, I got to write my book. So no, I'm laughing, but seriously, like I spent all year around this work, fam. That's nuts.
The book actually, you gotta talk about the book launch, man. This is post
Okay.
book launch podcast.
I really wanted to do a podcast in the middle of the week to talk about it, but I was like just not feeling any type of way because like I was.
Last podcast you wasn't feeling too.
Yeah, I
good,
was drained. Yeah, during my book launch, I wasn't feeling too good, but I said everybody should come to one place at one time. I was like, it's gonna be kind of nuts if I'm not there in it. But yeah. So, what should I talk about?
Talk about the book launch, man.
I need a
talk about,
question.
no, it's just
Okay, so
give an overview of how it went. Like run
so
us through it.
basically, let me tell the story. Obviously planned the book launch for about the whole planning phase was about 3 months, right? So that's every day prior to the book launch, actual day. So I scoured London, found a place in Peckham in my own backyard that was quite amazing, and there was actually a storm on the day of the book launch. Like there was an actual storm. considering that this book is called Melancholy Maelstrom, I think that's quite cool. But yeah, so a lot of great people came. Shout out to everybody that came. It was actually quite amazing. I didn't know that I could draw out 25 people, but bouillabaisse.
And did everyone buy a book?
Everyone bought a book, yeah.
There you go, see that?
It's a bit nuts, but yeah. That's thanks to my brothers, I think, because
they were backing you hard. It's good though.
Yeah.
That's what you need, man. Do you know what? For
it was
me,
quite nuts. No, you speak about it
So,
from
yeah,
your
'cause
perspective.
for me, what I
hyped
loved
as
about
fuck.
it most is because you never know how these things are gonna go in it, and you can't, like, especially with the way it went. That's not something you could necessarily fabricate,
Yeah.
you know. But it was nice because everyone was there, just fully showing like love, like.
Yeah, the
And
love was
it was heartwarming, like, you
Yeah.
know. It was just a heartwarming day, and even though the wind was blowing
fam, it
hard,
was
we could barely hear you, and there was like
real
it
storm.
was raining, and like the weather wasn't nice. It still felt like there was like great energy.
Oh man,
It's just the most important.
yeah,
thing.
man. Everybody had me sign their book in the freezing cold.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like that's not something you can. Yeah, it was just like it was people truly trying to show support and love.
Yeah, it was actually
what
quite
you're doing.
nuts, fam. Like, yeah, I couldn't have asked for more, to be honest. It actually, like, when I think about it, like, much more went on than I initially thought. Like, I don't have any more books. Like, the only books I have was books that I saved, and that's like so nuts. Like, it's nuts to think that, like, wait, because obviously I've got a book on my bookshelf. I've got 3 more books. I bought books. But yeah, like the book launch happened, I was just like, it's quite nuts.
Yeah, you got to put a copy in here.
Yeah, it's right there.
Is
The
it?
tweet, like, yeah, keep moving.
Oh, there I can see it, yeah.
Walderon, next to Walderon.
That's nuts. You got it on the shelf next to.
Yeah, Walderon, Ralph
Voltaire.
Emerson, Voltaire, and Ernest Hemingway. Those are actually the books that inspired my writing style for the book. So like, yeah, like Ernest prose, Ralph's form, Walderon's candor, and Voltaire's poetic. What's that type? Oh man, I always forget that one. Because like you writing, like, when you're writing poetic form, it's called something, and it's not called poetic form. It's like when you're talking about like you put a stanza together of her hair was like sweet like roses, and this guy, like, you know, that type of speak, like that Shakespearean style. But genuinely, my book, it looks so sick. It's got like obviously I started my production company, so if you want to get stuff produced and made on time, hit me up, because obviously I produce everything, including books. I don't just produce books. Books is literally the last thing that I produced in my whole life. Like,
That's funny.
but I made, that is actually funny, you know. Like, I never ever, not never ever, but I didn't think that I would write a book this early in my life. And yeah, even the love on Facebook.
Yeah, has anyone said anything about that?
Yeah, what?
About you writing
A book.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I've only received the love, like,
Good. But yeah, by that, no one's been like, well, how old are you? What have you got to write about? Like,
yeah, no, like you were saying, like, no one can, like, the only person that actually says stuff, like, actually thinks they can say stuff, is between Walderon and Ralph Waldo Emerson. That was purposeful.
Yeah.
Nigga! What the fuck is you doing?
Oh yeah, no, I put it in the right place.
You put it in the right place, but it was like, listen, this book was on its corner.
Was it? Oh.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. There you go.
Oh man.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
wait.
the only people who can say stuff.
Yeah, you're the only person that actually says stuff about what I should do creatively. And my dad.
Really?
Yeah, no one else can talk to me, really and truly. Like, well, I've allowed no one else to speak to me creatively, and maybe Ali, but Ali doesn't really like. No, wait, 2 seconds. Shout out Ali because he's a G. Like, no. Like, I don't think you understand. Like, first of all my favorite relationships start with a big fight. Like, all my long-lasting relationships, they start with like a massive. Well, there's a massive disagreement, and when we get past that disagreement, we come to an understanding, and that's kind of how.
Wait, do you mean start? What do you necessarily mean start?
Like,
not necessarily start.
Like, well, okay, so everyone that knows me knows that I have a certain way of speaking or being, and especially through text. Whenever you see my texts, people feel a certain type of way, versus how I actually speak, which is like really nice and respectful and articulate, which is how I write. But for some reason, that doesn't translate to paper, unless like I'm speaking about a really dark subject about myself, which is like kind of nuts. That's not the point. So I misunderstood. Shout out Lucky Day. But but the main point is, once we move past that disagreement, because like for some reason, like 3 months deep into the relationship, I've always had a disagreement with people. Like, it's literally like a pattern in the relationships that I've had as an adult. And if we get past that, then we have a really strong relationship. If we don't, then the relationship just dies. That being said, Ali, Ali knows how to back it. That's what I would say. Ali knows how to back it. I was aware, but it's better when you see it in person. And obviously, he's pulled through on multiple occasions. Not like even just saying that because he came to the book launch, but on multiple occasions. So yeah, genuinely.
But that's what I mean. I feel like
Big love
people
and
who you
respect.
can call your friends, that's how they move. People
Don't bang with me like that still.
Oh, it's funny. But you know what? It's like everyone has their own ways of being, and everyone's like, you in particular, you're quite it's you have a particular kind of personality where your filter is very, because you don't have no filter. It's not that you don't have a filter. That's not it. But it's only your filter is very far back in the range of what things you will say. Yeah. You know? And actually it's funny because those people are the people, well, as long as their intentions are good and they have a good heart, but more time I've noticed it's those people that are actually more trustworthy and you can rely on more. But that's the funny thing, because you'll say certain things that seems like you're not being inconsiderate, and sometimes you're just saying what you really think and it comes across like that. But once you get past that and understand your intentions behind things and the way you operate and the way you think, like it's just all part of who you are, you know what I mean? Whereas
that's the thing though, I don't generally understand like what people are saying.
It's not about what people are saying. This is my observation. No, because even with us, it like I used to get so frustrated by you. Remember the kind of conversations we used to have before we stopped talking. Before you know what I mean. Before we stopped talking, we would always have discussions and arguments about when you say something. I'm like, why is he saying that? Why is he saying it that way? Is it because it comes across as if you're purposely trying to piss people off? Like, that's how it comes across with the way you say things sometimes. But that's not it.
I'm never trying to piss
anyone. I know. But that's what I'm saying. But you can say that when someone... Because obviously at that time I'd known you for a good few years before we started talking. You know
for about 5, 6 years.
For a very long time.
A very long time.
But that's why it's always... It's never... With some people, it's not never. But with some people, if some people's intentions are good, and that's what you always have to get to, but if people's intentions are good, if someone still has a problem with that, that's their own issue, isn't it?
Yeah, like here's my whole thing. It's like the same reason why you can find a reason to dislike the way I say things is the same reason that I am a big defender and proponent of other things that you may like, or I say the things that you would really want to say but can't say. So because now the gun, as it were, is aimed at you, you now feel you've now personalized it, when the gun could be aimed at anything, but because it's you, like a lot of people think it can never be them when I'm saying things. But if I'm not open to, like, because me, first of all, I criticize myself much more than I've ever criticized anybody else. So I find, like, and it's really hard for me to stop. Like, it's really hard for me to just like hold back, because everybody wants to hear what I have to say for some weird reason. Like, and that's not even like me trying to big myself up. Like, literally, I would say nothing, and people would be like, "What would you think about this?" I'm like, I don't want to say it because someone is gonna get offended. Like, because I reached a point around like 23 where I realized if I say this, then
someone's gonna feel
someone's gonna say something to the contrary.
And then the following year, he joined Twitter.
Like, because you're good at math, but it's like the rules of engagement with me are, you have to understand that this space is an open space for all thoughts and ideas. And if you have a better thought and idea that's well put out, well articulated, well drawn out, then I'll take it on. Like, if someone said something and it was so on point, I'll be like, oh yeah, this person's right. And I've done that hundreds of times. Like, this is why I like all of the great speakers, because they really say stuff and you feel them and they're going in on a subject, and it's like, damn, this is probably the most compelling thought that I've ever heard in my life. And that happened for like because, like, obviously I can't change the amount of stuff and the type of stuff that I was saying. Now I'm more like kind of like just I'm more reserved with the type of people that I would speak to. But I'm still the same type of person whereby if it's a really complex thought and I need to get it off, then I'll write about it, or I'll just leave it to we have a conversation or something along those lines, whereby I can actually speak about this one thing and like just break out the idea, like the idea of the thesis, or having your own personal philosophy, or like just these massive ideas, which are really the only thing that I would like to speak about. But a lot of people just like to speak about what other humans do, and to me that's mad boring. And when I think something's mad boring, like, you're gonna somewhat be offended by the type of thing that I have to say. Like, if you're like, let's talk about how artists even operate today. It's like, are the lyrics any type of profound? Any type?
No.
But are they any type of mean? Not like, no. Let's get like, because I want to get, because I really want to take this away from me and just get into what you were really saying, was like how people talk about your art or how you should do your art, because it's really one of those things where it's like, because a lot of people are speaking for the people, quote unquote, the people are going to have an opinion on what you should be speaking about, and that is a problem. You haven't built this world where it's like, I operate under these parameters. Yeah, principles, even is the better word to use. It's like, I operate under this rule in my own world, and you guys get a piece of the world per album or per song.
See, that's what I'm trying to create. And that the way you articulated that is what I feel like I've always been trying to build.
And this is the point. It's like, I would say shit like that, yeah, but the other I don't know, fam.
You didn't even have a point. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, like, because obviously I would say, like, just like, but that's funny because you said, like, never mind. But our point
No,
is
no, no, no,
our obvious point is when you're speaking for the people, like Summer Walker's new thing where she's like, I'll throw it back on you. Like that's literally it's part of a whole song that she wrote. She was just like repeating, I'ma throw it back, blah 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 blah. Like just a bunch of bars like that are about sex or
and it's
just
got cultural
turbulent. Like it's Twitter
phrases.
it's Twitter,
In a song.
It's Twitter phrases in songs.
That's why Drake is. That's one of the reasons Drake has gotten so big. Think about that.
No, but obviously
Drake
didn't
not
start like
why
that.
he got big.
You
Why
know?
he got big. No,
Why-
but that
why
was the
he stays
transitional period.
Relevant. Why he stays
That
relevant.
was the transitional point.
but
No,
Drake is
because
a
the
real
moment he started,
artist.
no, he is 100%.
Like,
He is.
okay,
That's not to take
okay,
away from his
okay,
artistry,
yeah.
but look, we can both agree that artistry doesn't equate to popularity. We
Yeah.
can both agree with that,
Yeah.
and that's my point. The reason what kind of shifted for him was in the big change of him going from okay, he's Drake the rapper in that kind of upper echelon of rappers
Yeah.
to being Drake,
Yeah.
Ed Sheeran level, like
Madonna.
Look, you get what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like
he's Madonna.
he. It's so weird the hierarchy of how it works because you got Kendrick and J. Cole are all in that like
yeah,
sort
like
of,
they're in.
it's like
the
if you're in a
elite
pyramid,
tier
they're on the like second, third tier, like
of what?
of that pyramid of global
Oh,
like
yeah.
artists that are like as big, and that's like above that. I would even probably say second, but it's like above that. That's when you've got people like Taylor Swift or Ed Sheeran or Beyonce or Rihanna or you know what I mean. That's when almost the music they're making doesn't really matter because whatever they make is going to their fans are almost going to be like, whoa, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and it was when he started putting in all these references. Like he had architected that. That's what's so sick about Drake is because he architected that with the way he would show love to different cultures and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Bring that, which is like you know what I mean. There's debates about him being a culture watcher and all that stuff. Like at the end of the day,
Yeah, it's like. See, this type of stuff that I get bored about. It's
okay,
like
really,
just.
wow.
It's like no, because
No, I
like
get you,
Drake isn't like one of the best artists to speak about.
No, yeah.
Like he just does what that is the best. And obviously,
No, because
like,
why did I even get onto that
he's
point?
hyper intelligent because we were
Yeah.
speaking about how people speak in Twitter tongue, and that's a cool phrase.
Twitter
tongue.
How did we get to that? No, because we was talking about artistry.
Summer Walker.
Oh no, because yeah.
and
No,
actually,
because I went on that tangent of why it's like that. That's why I even brought him up.
It's like it's
yeah.
it's not even that it's boring. It's like where is not even the longevity. Where is the? Because after that, I have to ask the question: what won't you say, or what won't you do to please the people? Like I have to ask that question to myself. Like I had to ask the question to myself: if I'm gonna become an artist or an illustrator online, like, because this was when, before I started doing my fashion drawings, I was doing character drawings.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you know all of those people that draw celebrities and that, and it's like they get like the most retweets or the most likes and all of these type of things.
Because they
It's
just
like, because they're drawing celebrities, or the people that do hyperrealism,
fan art, basically.
like all of that type of stuff. They get the like, and I had to ask myself, do I want to be this type of artist or that type of artist that makes my own thing? And I obviously said I wanted to make my own stuff, and obviously that had left me broke for a long time. But it's not even that I wanted to keep some sort of integrity. It was that I wanted to make sure that what I was saying at least was relevant to me, because I wanted to please what I was thinking and like put out the right thoughts of what I care about. Because end of the day, like around, like literally all around this time, it's like Zimmerman got let off.
Zimmerman. Oh
yeah,
no,
the guy
sorry,
that killed Trayvon Martin,
yeah.
like the story that makes me cry all the time, like the London riots, all of this stuff. So it's like I'm asking this question of myself: what type of artist do I want to be? Do I want to just be talking about all of this random stuff, or do I want to have something to say to give the people? And when I actually say it, the people will receive it properly.
Do you feel like that's why when people feel, that's why people get disillusioned with that fame, because you're putting on a character, aren't you?
Yeah, it's
You're
like
kind of like, well, I guess fame in itself
you're
is like
a
that, but
you're a beast of the time.
Mm.
Like if you don't grow and change with that time, and people don't gravitate,
and you're not moving in
towards
the same direction that time
Yeah.
is moving. Yeah.
like me, I was thinking, but like every fashion thought that I had was years in the future, and that's not even to big myself up. That's like me thinking like that. Like me, I was thinking about doing rugby tees and football tops like in 2016, 2017. Like that's when I decided to do my first fashion thing, and it was like, oh, I can't do this because you need to have a lot of money to do this. Like if it's like, and I didn't want to do a graphics tee. That was the main point. I wanted it to be cut and sew.
Yeah.
I wanted to make it myself, and I wanted it to have character and be part of the world that I was building. But I couldn't do that without money or without investment or without seeding. So I had to lay off on that, and technically I wrote a book, like, which is the weird part. But like that was like writing a book is the first, like it's really like the first drop in the ocean of things that I could actually do. Like it's like because obviously first of all I don't really speak about myself. I speak about the world and how the world moves. So just writing a book that was about myself, that were about things people could relate to, was new territory within itself. Like the fact that like I've got the word overwhelming thrown a couple of times, and like meaningful and inspiring, and like just words like relating to the piece of writing that I put out, like that's in book form. It's like, oh, so this is what that is. It's like you make yourself available to that type of speech. Like people aren't gonna be repeating what I'm saying, but they're gonna come to me to say this thing again, sort of thing. And it's like whether I want to say that thing again is 100% up to me, technically, to me anyways. But the fact that that door is open is an eye shot to understand what the future could possibly hold in a certain type of way. Like the way people interpret the fact that I'm speaking openly about suicide, depression, or any, like, because really and truly the type of stuff that I was talking about is canon of the times. But the way that I'm speaking about and the words that I'm using and the approach, it's like
Congruent.
like it's new. It's like it's weirdly new, because first of all, like it's so, because I never really wanted to write about this. Like this is the main thing, but I was told to write about this, right? And it wasn't like even up until September, I didn't even want to put a book out. I wanted to just cancel everything. Like genuinely, I wanted to cancel everything. Like I just wanted to say I'm not putting out a book this year. Like I want, like,
And what,
in
before when?
September.
Oh, before June, did you say?
No,
Or January?
I mean, like, I just didn't want to put out the book. I just didn't want to do it. I just, like, all this year I was just like, I don't want to do it. 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 I wrote it, like, when I finished writing the first draft, which was about March, April time. I was reading it back and I was like, I don't want to release this. I don't want to do it. It needs to be let go. Like, I just was like, this isn't coming out. All of this type of stuff, and then like, then something happened in my life, and it was like, shit, I actually have to speak about this. And then something happened again in June. I was like, shit, if I don't speak about this, no one else is gonna speak about this. And then it's like, and it's set up, like, so I still had this kind of, I was in 2 months, and I didn't want to write about anything like this. But the point is, like, because obviously down to the cover, like, because I was literally just like, as Tyler was talking, partly I was just flicking through my book and trying to understand. I was flicking through my book and just seeing like how everything that I wrote was quite intentional. Not even everything that I wrote, even how it's stylized and like on. Let's see, it's like the third to last, like on page 63, it just says Damilare on the bottom, right? And it's like, and that was important to me that it just had my first name. Like literally, that part was important to me that it, like it would just said Damilare. And I was looking at the back where it has my ISBN, and it's like, damn, I bought this. Like I bought this, and it's like part of my company. My company owns it. Well, I own it, and by proxy, my company owns it, and I've got my logo on it, and the cover design is mine. Like it's nobody else's, and it's like it's designed through it's design like the cover design mainly. It's like I designed a design for the cover design. So I done this 3D sculpt on like it's a digital thing, a 3D sculpt because Tyler told me to do it. Like so, if you think it's shit, Tyler said it.
Wow.
No,
Alright then.
no, joking.
See that? No, it's cool, isn't it?
But honestly, it's like.
But on the contrary, if people do like it, it is my also my fault.
But it's like, I like that was part of my domain of skills, and like the reason the book is white, like there's a whole reason in my notes. There's a whole reason. There's a whole reason why I use blue. There's a whole reason why I use pink, yellow. So there's intention behind every design element and all of these things. So I ask of myself, like I really did this within, like there's an understanding why he's got a Ziggy Stardust Thunderbolt on his eye.
What is the reason?
I'm not telling you.
Okay.
There's a reason why you got this shard right here. There's a reason why the colors are like that, fam. There's a reason for everything, and the book holds meaning from book end to book end. And my main point is, when you make art like that, it's like people just leave you to make art, and they kind of accept you for whatever you're trying to make. So it's up to you whether you want to make art for the people or not, because if you start coming out with like, because I feel like we had this a conversation like this before, where it was like,
I've had several
if you wanna
in this vein.
If you wanna like kind of do the fan art type route, then you're really going like working for a company. Like if you get a job at Marvel, which has happened from someone drawing a Spider-Man comic. From this girl drawing Spider-Man, she got a job at Marvel where they draw the Spider-Man comics. So it's like that happens. Like she got a job at Marvel Comics. But if you're creating your own designs from your own mind, and you have a story, and like, well, actually, let's just stay on your own drawings, so your own illustrations, and they're not part of a story. Then people come to you for illustrations and beauty shots and stuff like that. If you're doing, if your drawings have a story element attached, you could honestly have your own comic or manga.
But that's what I'm saying. People aren't ever gonna really come to. They might do. I guess it depends how elaborate the fan art is. Because
what
just
do you mean?
Because just because you create a bit of fan art, that doesn't inherently mean that piece of fan art isn't telling its own unique, specific story. It's not framed in a way that could that exhibits the ability to tell a story through image.
What do you mean?
A unique story through image. Just because someone's done a fan art of Spider-Man characters.
Well, it was more than fan art, but yeah, kind of.
What do you mean? It's more than a fan?
It was like
a whole graphic novel.
It was kind of
It's
like
a whole comic
book.
book.
It was a story.
Oh, well, there you go. That's a
Yeah.
different. That's what I'm saying.
But it was.
But still,
at
that
the end
is
of the
still
day,
like a
that's
homage.
That's not her character.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
She doesn't own that. They could have told her you have to take this down. That's not representation of our company. Like
Should never be like that.
There is a legal ramification.
If I have a company that is a creative company like that, and there's people who are taken like that,
Yeah, fan art things.
Oh my gosh! No matter how detrimental it may come across, or how much money that person earns from our intellectual property.
Well, she didn't earn anything.
But even if she did,
Okay, wait.
even if she
I like
did,
this conversation.
even
Let's
if she
carry
did,
on.
even-
I wanna talk
even
about this.
even if she did, I can do nothing but hold that up and show respect for it. And actually, if it's good enough, even offer her a position.
Yeah, that's what they
That
did.
that like it just doesn't make sense to be suing people like that. Whenever I see these situations happen, whenever I see situations where people are getting sued for creating great work that pays homage, obviously I understand if people are trying to pass that thing off as their own work. That's understandable. But not being funny, if someone makes a whole comic or a whole movie that just absolutely goes off because it's actually great, that's nothing but an asset to you, to your company,
Bro.
It just makes
Literally,
no sense.
no. I feel you because this is what happened with Star Wars. This is what happens with Lord of the Rings.
What do you mean?
And this is what happens on Wattpad. Do you know what Wattpad is? Okay, Wattpad is an app where people do fan fictions, right? So you know how Twilight has kind of this law, Lord of the Rings has this law, Star Wars has this law. It's because of internet forums and of the like of people making stories from their own thoughts on the comic or the movies or the books.
And building characters of their own,
Same with Harry
their
Potter.
own original characters.
Like, you know,
and
there's
stuff.
like
Bro, I'm not even gonna lie. I've delved into the world of the Naruto ones, mate.
yeah, so you
Been
know,
there.
like
You got the
there's this
Naruto
whole
ones, the One
old-
Piece ones, and you got your character. Like literally, you'll have character creation where you got like virtual dice.
Yeah.
You create all their stats. You type in your whole bio, where you what village you're from, what Keke Genkai you've got.
Yo, there's this whole side story of Hermione going with what's that nigga from Slytherin again? What's his name? Malfoy.
Malfoy, yeah.
Like
Lucius Malfoy. Draco, no. Yeah, why did I say
He
Lucius?
got the stick. Big Draco. I got a stick.
Oh my god.
No, so okay, cause I'm personally, I'm enthralled by this whole counterfeit culture and just this. I'm like the fakes, all of this, like how people do fake Supreme and like they print their own hoodies and like obviously Heron Preston has this thing. It's like he's like, if you make a fake of my own, it's like it's your fake. It's like your hoodie now. It's like, even though it's got my name on it, it's kind of yours. And that's like his mindset towards it. And it's like, I'm like just interested by this. And you know, like how people have just
what,
like
he's saying that to people who make fakes and sell them off to other people.
no, like just make it like, and you want to rock it and say you're wearing Heron Preston. It's like that's Heron Preston now. It's like because that is the that's
the energy.
Yeah,
it's the idea because with an intellectual property, it's an idea. It's the product is the product, but the idea is something that's supposed to inspire people to emulate it.
Exactly.
It's supposed. That's what it's.
And
A good idea does that.
And
You can't be angry at
into that. Like I'm into the whole Harry Potter fan fiction. Like me personally, I was heavy. Like
I can't believe
heavy
they've recently
into Star Wars fan fiction. Like I was
really
all the way. Star Wars is like one of my favorite franchises ever. Like that. Let's not get into it because we can get into it. But Star Wars is my one personally, and obviously other people have Lord of the Rings.
New Star Wars games looking a bit mad
Boondocks.
as well. Just to say,
Pardon?
new Star Wars games looking a bit mad.
All right.
But neither of us have a PlayStation, so
Yeah,
we're never
like,
gonna ever play it.
Boondocks. All of these like it's like
There's Boondocks fan fiction.
kinda, not really.
Oh, I was about to say that would be kind of sick though.
Well, it's coming back.
Different
sort of.
neighborhoods.
But yeah, it's like it's just this whole. We care so much about this name.
You want to be a
culture.
part of it.
You make it live on. This is the
Yeah.
point. It's like when you talk about folk tales and folklore and
This
all
is
of
where
this
this
stuff,
idea
that's-
comes from. Yeah,
it's-
it comes from that.
It's meant to like, but because
Oh, that's
certain
weird.
things are so Americanized and commercialized, it's like you have to be rigid on it. But with me personally, when I make a story, I would love that type. Like that's the highest respect that I see paid.
So would you
really.
say this idea where people feel like they've got to shut down things and sue things that are replicating it is just an older form of capitalism still sort of perpetuating it?
I don't think it's an older
Is it a
form of capitalism.
capitalism
It's a
thing?
purpose. But like, if someone has like fake washing up liquid
But-
and they're calling it very liquid, then there's a problem there.
Mm.
It's like that's not our formula. If someone has fake Coke and they call it Pepsi,
Because I do think there's a problem
didn't get a
when
joke
you're
there.
selling it.
Thirsty.
That's made me thirsty, man. I need some drink. I don't drink
Thirsty.
water. Was I gonna
I've
say?
only got taps still.
That's fine. Because yeah, I do think there is a problem when you're selling that thing on to other people as if it's real
Yeah.
or
Authentic, genuine.
yeah, that's a
Like,
problem.
when you're talking about Persian rugs and it's had this whole history, but you really just like made it in a factory and stuff. It's like, it's like,
Yeah, that's
and
different.
you talk about Roman tapestries or like how people do fake Leonardo da Vinci paintings. And
Yeah, and try and get like the
Yeah.
same amount of money as
big
actual.
big time, and this is why I love that conversation. I love the idea. Like, I just love the idea of what is counterfeit and what is continuing on a story. Like, when you make a replica, that's counterfeit. When you give the replica a new stage of a story, so like, let's say Mona Lisa's looking straight on, but then you make a painting of her looking in profile.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the story. Like, that's not a replica anymore. That's story.
It's still added
That's
your own
homage.
thing to it.
That's you've added yours to it. You've added an element. You've put something on. You put a spin on it that's like unlike anything we've seen before, and that's the point of art, is to bring an idea to fruition and show people what they've never seen. So, or speak to people in a way that they've never heard, or say something for people that they've always wanted to say, and articulate yourself in a certain type of way. And it's how much you care about that type of conversation and that topic, and as an artist, because right now we're really talking about as an artist, and just a tangent of who, when I was talking about who I wanted to be in 2014, 2013, 2012, like when all of this mad stuff was happening, when people heard that I'm from London and they were asking me whether I'm part of the London riots and all of this other thing. It's like, what am I trying to say? Who am I trying to be? What has happened to me in my life that's enabled me to speak in this type of way? The same way that we're talking about the candor of which I speak. It's like, yeah, there's that where you can possibly be offended, but there's also the part where I protest and I'm able to speak for people who don't have a voice or can't articulate, and that is the exact same thing as getting offended.
Yeah, but that's why I say, like, I even said, like, it's not even like my perspective on things like this have changed, like, and that's why when I see a lot of people getting offended by what people say, it's like a lot of the times when people say offensive things or rude or racist or sexist or things, like, there's so much context. This isn't about giving people passes or giving people like, oh, that's okay for you to say things like that, but there's so much context behind these things, yeah, that you have. I would like a drink. Well, I want to speak to you. I don't want to speak just to the podcast. But like you said, that midpoint as I'm making a point. But
okay,
it's
make
like,
your point. I'm thirsty.
okay, yeah, I was, because it's hot in this fucking room. But
Yeah.
it's like, it's that same conversation I was having with people, and even with you when we was talking about the way people treat us. And I realized where it comes to, and I said this exact same thing in a conversation I had yesterday. We actually have too high an expectation of other people. Actually,
Yeah.
we how we are with our family and how our family treat us and the people that we care for treat us, we put those expectations onto complete strangers without allowing ourselves to go. And look, it's not about going, I think these people are going to do the worst things. It's not about being wary. It's not about avoiding people. It's not about being paranoid. It's about understanding and expecting this person more than likely doesn't have my best interest in their heart. That's fine. That doesn't mean I don't treat them great. I don't stop how I treat those people, but I don't do the things that I do with the expectation of because it's not even necessarily about going, oh, they're going to do the same for me. It's just about going, oh, I understand whether or not they do this doesn't matter, because my expectations is that they probably don't have their best interest in the heart. But all I can do is express the best interest in my heart and in my being. So to be offended by people, and look, everyone's always going to be offended. And obviously, there's things that people say and do. You can't let them get away with these things. But I think as we grow and mature and we get older, all we can ever really do is focus on the most important things. You know, and that's the perpetuation of positive emotions, positive actions, and the way that we treat people, and setting a complete example through the adversity of these things.
I don't know. Like, okay, here's like, because obviously you just said like a whole concept in it, and I don't know whether I agree with it in its entirety, but there's elements in which align with my thesis on this, which is like the point of an action is you wanting to do it. Like, really and truly, it should be like a reaction, but it's you wanting to do it. Like, if you're what's that word called again? The word where altruistic. Like,
altruistic, yeah.
Like, people expect you to act altruistic towards them, right? Like, without wanting any repercussions. But let's say you do that, but you also said the perpetuation of positive emotion. So that's not altruistic in itself. It's like you don't want positive. Like, it's not about positive or negative. It's like how you want to act. If you as a human, and this is where it comes to with me, human heartedness, being a human, acting in a human way, positive or negative.
Because when I say positive, though, I don't mean yay, ha ha ha. In that I include telling people how it is sometimes. That's why I say there's things you can't let people get away with. But my point is, because to me, negative emotions isn't saying something that's going to make someone feel bad. Because you could say something that sounds really quite harmful, hurtful, but is the truth, and actually in the long run is going to allow someone to see the better side of whatever it is that is afflicting them.
Okay,
so when I say positivity, I mean positive intentions, not positive emotions. I mean positive intentions.
Good intentions, but everyone has human intentions. Listen,
okay.
There are people. It's like when you're a human, you're gonna act, and things are gonna happen to you, and things are gonna happen for you, and it's like it's not really positive or negative. And this is a lot of Buddhists speak right now. It's not really positive or negative. It's like just things happening.
Equanimity.
While you're happening. So there are happenings around your happening, right? And I know that sounds really weird, but if you're really living in that way, then whatever happens is it's not a result. Like, if someone's happy that you help them cross the road, then that's the result of you helping them across the road, right? If someone's okay with that, then that's cool. If someone is angry with something that you said because of the way you decided to say it, then that's just the way that they decided to act, positive or negative. It's like you're just doing things, right? But now, if that's also got repercussions and ramifications, then that's furthering whatever you've ever done. So from the point that you've done it, it should really stay there. But that's not how humans work. So, like you said, like, people should pay. There should be repercussions to certain actions, right? So now we get into human heartedness and like the ability to let people be human and live on and like just have their own thing. So now we're talking about dichotomy and double standards and all of these other things, right? So what and this is a lot of things that I think about our generation. It's like, what double standards are we planning to keep as a generation? Because no matter what, there are going to be double standards, and there's a different standard of living that we have now than anybody else has had prior to us. And this is a big part of Black Renaissance, the series that I'm doing now, which is we are making history in this moment, right? And I know I'm saying a lot of things, but let me just quickly tie it up. It's like, we are acting today for what people are going to speak about tomorrow, basically. And our generation particularly has a certain set of circumstances around it where everything's up in the air, and we are now just plucking rules down in which we're going to live by, and probably people are going to live by for another 200 years. And the decisions we make today affect whatever child is going to be born in 150 years from now. And that child is going to decide whether what we said today, just like we're deciding what all of these founding fathers and the colonization and what they done and what they've said about black people or ethnic people in general, that's exactly what people are going to say about how we first came about as like just a people living together, like Asian, black, white, and what's the other one? Shit, there's another one, but I digress. The point is, there are rules that we're just gonna have to live by, right? And we are only now addressing those rules, and really and truly, it's the strongest mind that's gonna win. And like, this is a big part of one of our other conversations way before not way before the podcast, but way before today, months before the podcast, where it was like, we're living in the middle of a war.
But it's a different kind of war.
Yeah. And this war that we're living in right now, it's like, we're either going to be a part of it, or we're just going to let it happen to us. And if you decide to fight for certain type of rights, then that's the type of thing that you're going to have to do.
But I think it's more than just one war, and that's the funny thing.
It is.
It's more than just one war. And
because it's ideas, there's loads of little other ones, and then like those will bubble up, and they will get so bigger, funny. And like it, and literally it's a survival of the fittest mentality. So the best idea, the best, most well-rounded idea is gonna win. So the way me and you are gonna see our grandkids act is a result, a direct result of the first generation of whatever rules we set up when we were 30, 40, 50. And that's the point. It's like, when we're all talking about, okay, being a beast of the time, or like perpetuating new ideas and stuff like that, it's like, or putting ideas, or speaking for people, or just giving people a new train of thought. It's like, what is your thing, and is this idea of yours worthwhile?
Because this is what I was, when I asked that first question just at the beginning of the podcast, this is a lot of what I wanted to talk about, because it's like, at the end of the day, what's so interesting about it is, although everyone has to be held accountable for the things that they do, not just to other people, but the way that they conduct themselves for themselves.
Yeah,
it's like, everyone has things that personally affects them and that they personally worry about. And the reason I asked the question of, do you have people saying to you how you should move, how you should do this, how you should do that, is because I think one of the most important things, and one of the hardest things to do, especially when you're trying to figure things out and you're trying to find, you're making sense of the whole path of what you're trying to do, having the sort of patience and the having the patience and the ability to slow down and move at the pace that you move at, is actually one of the most important things. No matter, like, having mentors and people that you can confide in and trust is important, but you shouldn't be moving to anyone else's, because that's the only way to actually play to keep up with this so-called game or this war, right?
Yeah.
You have to, because you can't, if you're playing by someone else's game,
Yeah.
you're 2 steps behind them already, because they're playing the game that they're playing. So it's like, and that's been such a struggle for me to do, because, like, as I said, I lose focus on things quite easily, and I get quite disillusioned with things fairly easily, and that's my own battle for me. Like that's my own thing, and more, especially in this past 6 months, the biggest things that I've learned is because it's as we were saying before, being busy isn't actually being busy isn't a good thing.
Yeah.
The act of being busy is essentially, it means nothing. It's like when people go, yeah, I've just been busy. Like I find myself saying that. I consciously avoid saying I've been busy, because it means nothing.
It means nothing.
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, the biggest thing for me this year and to the end of this year is actually I'm trying to really improve how I focus on the things that I'm trying to do. Like just doing it, because I don't know what it is. Like I whenever I watch or see or have conversations with other people, I tend to have this thing where people are like, oh, what, and like there's all these suggestions, and I appreciate that, but it's like, if you allow those things to sort of seep into the vision, it just becomes this muddy pool of different colours, and there's not any clarity.
It's disheveled ideas. Like, this is one thing that I learned, right? What, like, the one that, like, when I started moving by the beat of my own drum, it's like I realized that people don't really have a plan. Like, and their idea is nothing but a thought that they got in the moment.
Yeah, and not even in the moment. They only making that idea because they've heard it from somewhere else.
And that was my main. That's like my main problem with a lot of people who speak.
They're just repeating ideas. They're repeating phrases they've heard.
Like, on this podcast, I think we said, like, you remember when you were like, people don't think, and it's like, I realized one day it was like the first time someone ever had like a real thought that wasn't programmed was when they were speaking to me. So it was like they would have conversations, but it was like they only now decided that during this conversation they're gonna create a thought or a train of thought, and a lot of those.
Is it something that they've said to you like openly?
No. I saw it. Like, I saw well, this is not one person. This is a multitude of people. It's like I see a pattern. I see a pattern of people who say things in a certain type of way, use logical fallacies in a certain type of way, and go and like there's this like correlation, distillation in my mind where I see all of the things that people do and act when they're around me, right? Like, people don't just talk when they're around me, which is one of the biggest weird things that I know. And like, if we're like talking about something deep, then the conversation is swayed to my control. And if it's left to something shallow, it's like, it's one of those conversations where we're just barely gonna talk type of thing, right? But the main point is like, people aren't really using their creative thought. It's like, if I tell you something like live instrumentation, that was a 2-year-old thought, right? And it was like live instrumentation, because now when you see all of these tiny desks and all of these people talking about live instrumentation, it's like, oh, so this is going to be a thing. Like, people using instruments for their music is a thing now. Like, when you see like when it was like new and fresh, when I don't know why instruments are new and fresh, but when Kendrick was doing it in that performance of his Untitled Unmastered piece, it was like and he was in that prison garbs and like, yeah, like that
was
was
hard. That
exactly,
was the first Think about how rudimentary that was compared to how he sort of evolved it into Dan.
Yeah.
Like what Dan became because of that. That's crazy.
And that's like it's like a real, that's an idea. That's a real train of thought. That's a real, I'm doing this because of this, and then 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 this. And it all started with the idea of live instrumentation. But when people, like, if someone tells you, I don't know what people tell you, to be fair. I know what I tell you. I say you should sync on your own production, because I know that because I know what that's gonna lead to, and I know the confidence that's gonna entail from that. And when I said live instrumentation before, that's also another confidence. That's a different type of confidence in your own playing skills, in whatever you decide to hear sonically, right? And when you now marry those two, like me, obviously I started with words, so I'm a wordsmith, where it's like I know how to just put words together, like make them look pretty, right? But when it comes down to the performance of words, that's totally different. That's a different type of confidence. And when you now marry the confidence of being able to write with being able to perform that writing, and then marrying that with instrumentation, and you string all of these things together, you now start creating a sound. And when you like start picking your own instruments, you're able to discover a new level of who you are as a person. But that's a concept. So now that's the only way that I know how to think. So I'm only able to like really try concepts. I don't know how to kind of just say something and it's like it doesn't have like a real thorough thought behind it anymore. Like, not saying that I've never done that or I might never do that again, but it's like it has to be a concept. It has to be a big idea. Like when I write jokes on Twitter, it's like a big idea. It's like like I really like a lot of my comedy that is like, it doesn't, obviously when it comes from me, it doesn't look like comedy. But for me, it's like this whole scheme.
Would you ever do stand up?
Yeah, like it's this whole scheme. Like I really like this idea of schemes in comedy, right? Like schemes is another rhyming thing, but it's like when you put it in comedy, it's like
it's hard.
Yes, it's a different concept of putting words together.
Have you seen who's great at that? Have you seen Andrew? You've seen Andrew Shots. You haven't seen his stand up though, have you?
I have, yeah.
Oh, you've seen it now. That guy's good, man.
Yeah,
he's
like
very good.
What was the latest one that he done?
He done a special impromptu.
Yeah.
Crowd work.
Yeah.
Purely crowd work.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Bruv, that guy is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's just great. Like it was sort of, it's so funny because like now I'm working in like comedy on the digital side.
Yeah.
Like with work, and it's so interesting because I've never really liked British comedians, so to speak. It's hard, and I was putting my finger as to why it was.
Yeah.
And when I say I don't like them, it's just I just haven't like resonated with them.
Yeah.
So to speak, and I think it's because.
Have you seen Mo Gilligan's one then?
Mo Gilligan, okay, yeah. It's bad to say British comedian because there is British comedians that I can F with, like more modern and recent, I'd say. Yeah. But it's funny because I see a lot of the people who are, because you got Mo Gilligan, who you got
I don't know anybody else.
But that's what I'm saying. He's like an anomaly.
Yeah.
America, you've got more people.
Yeah.
Look, here's my gripe with it. UK comedians, the bigger ones, are all fairly like a bit too like nerdy. There's something about them that's like, it's too self-deprecating, like because of how nerdy they are. I don't know, there's something there. They don't really, they stay too much on, I feel like they stay too much on a safer side of comedy, you know what I mean? Where they'll go into sort of jokes about themselves. Jokes about themselves.
Like, is
Ricky Gervais is good, but I don't know.
He's a great comedy writer. But like when I think about what I remember from his stand-up, because like I remember there was a phase where I would just like listen to any stand-up that was from a comedian that I knew, and any special, I should say, from any comedian that I knew. and I think his stand up is parts of the routine, but he's also got that character where like he's kind of a big nerd and he's like all of these other things, and he's not fully with it. Like, and he doesn't know that he's not famous, and he's obviously got that movie about him as well.
No, he's a good writer, and I actually like him. I think he's kind of cool. I think he's got an interesting perspective. There's some. I'm not saying everyone. I'm just talking about the majority.
Yeah.
Like who I resonated with more.
Yeah, like
just
me,
because of the way they approach comedy. It's not even the writing per se. It's more their approach, the way they carry themselves, like the specific topics they talk about. It's not even a skill level thing. I don't think comedians in the UK are necessarily worse than American comedians. It's more just who I've resonated with.
Yeah, like I only really mess with the best people, to be honest with you. Like I've come to a space where it's like, if you're not part of the best, or who I consider the best, then I'm not listening to your stuff.
Who would you consider the best at the moment then?
Like well, you would have to say like Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy's doing stand up again.
Yeah.
But do you know what? Because
I still remember Raw to this day, and Raw and Delirious are like, I remember when I watched them when I was 16.
I remember when my dad showed me that. Me 15. And him dying on the sofa,
like yeah, I watched that on my ones. I even remember Pootie Tang. Like there was a white rat that wrote on Pootie Tang, the one that was wanking in front of women. What's his name again?
Louis C.K.
Yeah, that's the one.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I know he's been through some culture, and there was a recorded special. I have to send it to you. He done a set. It was like an hour-long set. It was someone had recorded it.
Oh wow.
And to see the way that guy has handled this whole situation, the way not only has he confronted it and unveiled his whole experience with it, he left no holds barred, mate. No holds barred in this special. He was just going. He was moving exactly. It almost felt like he was more free.
Yeah.
Because he even said it in his area. He was like, "Look, my life's already over. I'm just gonna say whatever it is I'm gonna say." And there's something I got to respect about that. Like that alone showed how great that guy is. Like how top tier he is.
Yeah,
like in terms of his skill, in terms of his his skill set.
To be fair, you're never gonna be able to say that Louis C.K. or Bill Burr or like any of these other comedians are just like rubbish. Like obviously there's this thing that I say where it's like there comes a point in an artist's life where none of the things that they can do is just shit. Like it's just whatever they release isn't bad. It's just probably not to the level that you're used to or something. Yeah. So there's just a level of there's just an upper echelon type deal with like just certain people, and I'm cool with that. Like I remember before this came out, he had a special, and I watched that special, and that special was funny where he was talking about his daughter and his son and all of that type stuff, and like Kevin Hart's recent one, even though it's not one of my favorite Kevin Hart ones, it's like
you still can see how it's still funny.
It's like a high, like just the production, the way it was switching cameras, all of that stuff, and I think it was directed by him, and all of these type of things. It's like it was a real production. Like he cared about the production and the way that it was shot, and like that idea from there is gonna go to someone else, and like the way that Alex does Andrew Schultz's ones, it's like the way he cuts and edits that, and and this is what I'm thinking about with my documentary now. It's like the way I'm gonna edit it and how I'm gonna pose it, and like the way that I'm gonna tell the story of like just the things that I've been through and stuff like that. It's like all of that has to come through your mind and be able to. You have to see it, and you have to know about it, and you have to care about it, and that has to lead to deeper ideas, or it comes from a deeper place of your ideas, and the way it's just all part of the way that we're talking about artists care about things. Like we just care about things in a different way, and now there's this part of artistry from our generation at least where it's like you have to care about the production is literally part of whatever you're doing. You can make a drawing today, and if it doesn't have the right lighting, the right the right filters, the way, like, if it's not cropped correctly, if it's not level, you're probably like, you would get less likes today if if you released it as just as a normal like if it was a better picture. So you have to make sure the picture is amazing
I think
when you present it to people, and this is the part.
Well,
And
I think it. I
it
guess
doesn't
I actually
depend.
know.
It
I was
doesn't depend.
gonna say it depends on what it is that you're doing.
Like,
but
there's this level of understanding.
but I get
where
what you mean.
know where if you release a drawing today, it's probably gonna get 50 likes or something, and these number of my friends are gonna share it, and like, you kind of have this roundabout filter of understanding in it, and that's just that's basic with production. It's like a couple steps after that. It's like, okay, so what will people really like? Okay, what would people like to see more from me? And all of those filters, it's like the 30-day beat challenge. It's like, okay, this person likes this type of sound, and this person likes that type of sound, and I do this, and it garners this response, and when I do that, it garners that response, and all of that put together gives you this sort of figure, and you really gauge what the landscape is if you release something. And that level of understanding is production, and we all have to have something in our minds where it's like, I have to release this thing in a certain type of way. Like, I release my
it all compounds, isn't it, though?
I release my book in a certain type of way, and like, I'm gonna have to go to radio stations, and I'm gonna have to talk about it with other people on whatever podcast, and I have to know exactly which podcast to go on, and like, go to wherever that conversation is, and move to.
So, but yeah, the what's interesting, because how the little bits compound, because it's like, do you know when people are like, you got to think big, you got to you know, and you've got to take it one step at a time. It's a mixture of both, isn't it? It's like there's the big thing that you eventually want. Like, you can't even really think about that. That's such in the background. It's in the background. That's the background of how you operate your life in. But the way you move is at the pace in which you need to do things. Like, you've got to give yourself enough time to bring something to the standard of the, and it's like, it's so easy to just get caught up in the mundanity of things that you shouldn't even be doing. That's why you've really got to work on your own time, because you can see all these things that you should or shouldn't be doing, but there is a large part of it where you've got to just experiment on things, man. You have to find the right knowledge, the trustworthy knowledge, but you also have to experiment on things, because no matter what anyone tells you, you're living your own life. So you need to figure out how these things work for you.
Yeah,
so you need to
like
experiment
that was part
with things.
of what I was saying before. It's like, when people like say what you should be doing, it's like, they're not gonna live out that action.
That outcome, yeah.
Like, that outcome is gonna be your outcome. They're not gonna say anything about that. Okay, like, you do what they say, and then now you come back to them and you ask them,
why didn't it work?
Yeah, or even, what do I do next?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they've got no clue, and then now they're guessing. So it really wasn't.
It's not how you should
plan.
operate.
It was part of just a thought that's probably like, it came and
That's
went.
what you should do, yeah.
Like, it was fly by night. That's what you call it.
That's why you can't really even operate from a place of results when you see someone's results.
What's that?
If you get what I mean, like you're trying to do things based on a result you've seen, and you're motivated by someone else's results. If you get what I'm saying, like the things that they've got, the things that they earn, the things that they're allowed to say, their status, all these good and shiny and brilliant things. Like, you operating from a place of that. Some people, I can't say all people, because some people, that really does get them to get moving. But more time, you're not really fulfilled by that stuff. Like, and even
fair, I'm kind of motivated by the result, but it's like, I don't know what that result looks like in its entirety. It's like, changing or evolving the discussion is a result for me, but it's not.
But you're not fulfilled by the result. You're not fulfilled by the result. You're fulfilled by the process.
Yeah, like the making. Like, I love the making. I love the production. I love being able to give something to people and having them feel a certain type of way, whether that's positive or negative, whether that's action or inaction. It's like it's part of my artistry. It's like it's the thing that I care about most is feeling. So there's no money attached to that. There's no money attached to feeling. The only thing that I can show people is a process, and obviously that process comes with coin. You feel me? You're gonna have to pay for that process. Anyway, typical productions.
Yeah, no, but
yeah, you know what I mean. It's like you're right. It's like you can't really be motivated by the results because it's like you ask.
They come and go, and you may not want that by the time you get there. Like,
exactly.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
It's the time when you feel best really is when you're just doing something, because even if you're motivated by the result, and that's where you got to look at that.
I wasn't even motivated by this. I swear to God.
That's it. But it was the fact that you, it was the fact you done it. It was the doing of it that it was like you could say I done it, and because you when you focus on the process, the fact alone that you've done it is fulfilling. Is fulfilling, and it's so funny because I realize now a lot of the anxieties I get when I'm doing certain things that I enjoy doing, I've actually built a guilt in my head sometimes about doing certain things. Huh? Wow. You see what he's trying? He's been trying to do this to me ever since I've known him. Right? He's been trying to do this to me ever since I've known this guy.
No, if we turn into a flagrant podcast, I wouldn't be friggin' opposed to that. I'm with all of the shits, bro.
But it's
what did you say?
It's mad.
Yeah,
it's mad. Because
something about.
It's when I'm I'm making things and making things that I enjoy. There's this slight sense of guilt that's quite disruptive for me.
Be your base. Be your base.
No, I'm angry, fam. I'm angry. I'm actually angry. I'm actually angry. Dammy's convinced I was lied to at birth. He thinks I was lying. He thinks I was lied to at birth. Oh, you've done it again.
Oh, see what you mean, fam.
Oh, say so.
Beloved, this is the Culture and Camaraderie podcast, the most.
Oh my gosh, we are not starting again.
Introspective, industrious, creative discussion with Camaraderie. If you're hearing us on crystal clear audio clarity, shout out Lax Error on all your socials.
Boom. Yeah, we're not starting again.
What were you saying, fam?
Oh my god.
You should have continued, fam. Yo.
My point being.
Oh, fam, I need to.
No, we're almost done anyway. We're almost done. We've got 5 minutes.
Good.
My point was being. I've even forgot what I was talking about.
No, you're talking about like this hesitation, this guilt.
Oh. Nah, you're a prick. You're actual prick. Of white men.
Did I flop it again?
Just don't touch it. Just don't touch it. Anyway, I'm gonna finish my point. Okay. When I'm making things. Oh, do you know? I don't even want to talk about it. I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm over it.
Talk about it. I'm here.
All right.
When you're making things, like there's this little type of doing your own thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Your own thing.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Like just like
okay,
creating, and I don't even know why. I haven't really unpacked it so far yet.
Listen, like we all started the same way, like drawing.
It's
Dragon
so
Ball
funny.
Z characters.
Yeah,
so
it's
like,
just
what happened in that middle.
It's so funny.
Drawing Dragon Ball Z characters and now where you're actually trying to be a professional artist.
But that's what I mean. I don't know if it is part of it, that being that professional thing of, because
or trying to say you're professional, acting a professional, and this is what the professional.
Yeah. There's I don't know. There's something there, and it's like, because it got to the point where I felt like I needed to do things. If I'd feel guilty not making a beat, sitting down making a beat, or about to start laughing again.
No.
Right.
I think my belly's hurting. Fam.
Yeah.
The way I was laughing, fam.
Right.
No, you have to finish this, fam. Yeah. Come
There
on.
was, like, I felt bad about not making a beat at one point, and then.
What do you mean by not making a beat? Making a beat like something, or the fact
No,
that
no,
you
no, no,
didn't
no,
want to make
no.
a beat, but you felt like making a beat? 'Cause I feel guilty all the time not writing or drawing.
Yeah, but it was like, and it's so weird
Like,
because.
I remember. Sorry, I remember when I used to go out, or whenever I used to be out, or whenever I used to just do things that aren't. Like
But
whenever
yeah,
I used to watch TV
that's
shows.
it.
And
You'd
I'd
be like, what am I? Yeah, I need
I'm
to.
not drawing.
But that's not that. That's what I mean, because that's what I'm talking about, the bigger picture thing, and that's why I'm in this process of actually slowing down, and just trying to get back in pocket. You know what I mean? Back in my bag of.
Okay,
I operate and I move and I do things in life because, not because of the feeling of wanting to, because this is the problem, and I think this is a big problem in the world today. I really am convinced is that how much we operate on how we feel or don't feel, because that's not necessary.
It's a problem of how we operating on feeling.
Yeah, I do, because I think it's more than that, because if we just purely operate on how we felt about things, on emotions that come and go, we would constantly stop and start things. And I think I'm very much a testament to that.
To be fair, I don't operate on, like, my feelings have nothing to do with any result or anything. Like, how I felt about this book, and when I said I didn't want to release it and all that, like, that didn't matter. I needed to do it.
Yeah.
And that was the point. It was like, you have to do it. You have to release it, because this is the result of what you felt, or what you did, or what was part of something that you knew had to happen. Like, because first of all, the way that I felt the way I felt in the hospital was horrible. Like PTSD type shit. So I had to write about it, and not just write about it on an emotional tip where I'm just like throwing my thoughts on paper. It was like, it's structured, it's got a story to it, there's a beginning and there's an end. So there's this whole theme that goes through it, and there's actually a story arc as part of it. So outside of my feelings, there are even things that I had to remove from the book to make sure that it stayed congruent with the whole thing, or else I'd be just scrambling throughout the whole thing. And that's not the way that I like to do things. Like, big part of my artistry, like I told Shamani this 2 days ago. It was
shout out Shamani.
It's like creating a building around a storm. Like, that's a big part of what I do. Is like, there needs to be a real structure around this whole thing that just moves and feels and thinks, and like, yeah, there has to be a structure of it living. So and this is a big part of what I call something that I'm not going to release today, but there's a understanding whereby there's part of those 5 fingers. There's the ethics, the principles, the philosophy, and the other 2 that I forget consistently. But yeah, it's like, it's character and the other one. But yeah, on a general tip, it's like, whatever you do, because you're a transmedia storyteller, it's like, whatever medium you use, I feel it doesn't matter at this point, because just plain and simply by the way that we were taught, it's like, whatever medium we're using, it doesn't matter. Like, literally, the whole world that you can be creating could be a comic book series, and that could also have music that goes along with it, and that could also have a movie that goes along with it, that can be scored in a certain type of way. That's like, you hear what I'm saying? So it's like, or it could be a series of pictures, and like a series of 5-10 pictures, and like, you release it, like, or 100 pictures even, and you release 5 every single year for the next 10 years or something. So it's like, however we do it, it doesn't matter. It's like the reason we're doing it. Ooh, start with why. That's funny. But yeah, it's like it's literally the reason we're doing it. So like, what do you want the world to know, or what do you want to say to the world? Which is a big part of why I do a lot of what I do, and why a lot of people can't say anything of what I'm doing, because literally you are the only person, and my dad being the other person. Like, my dad can't really speak about art, but it's like one of those things that he knows what I want to put outside into the world. So he has thoughts and feelings about how I go about doing that, and I'm open to those thoughts, because really and truly the how doesn't really matter. It's like, as long as the thought is executed in a certain type of way, and that's a part of big elite execution, and what's the other one?
High performance.
Yeah, high performance. That's the one. Hey.
But yeah, but I guess
you can find that on my website.
The reason I'm even saying that is because
being an elite level producer and high performer. Yeah.
Even the point I was making at the beginning, that's why I think the time is important.
The time we're living in,
the time of slowing down, time in general, like, because you can't put a limit on how you can have a goal and you can aim to create something, but you need to give yourself the time, because you have to do things, you have to execute on things. That goes without saying. But when you're in the bubble of the creation of something, you need the time and space to push an idea, take something away, strip it completely, because you might have times where actually the answer is to strip it back down to the core and build it back up in a different direction. And that's why the time is so important, because
I feel like having a world that relies on its own time, because to me time is like,
because it's going to always be building itself. It's
like,
well, you have to make it like that. You can't you need to make it like that. You can't expect it to be. That's what I'm saying. Like, and the only way you can do that, the way you control time, is by slowing down. Is by pulling back from this imaginary race that you're a part of. There was a quote that I heard from Patrice O'Neill. He said, but he was talking about girls, but he transmedia storytelling. Let me tell you, no, but he was saying, when you're like in a situation, the way to win the game is by not playing the game at all. Right.
That's like one of my founding principles.
That is like, exactly what I'm talking about. Why time is arbitrary.
I'm going to see what I'm saying. It is arbitrary.
It's arbitrary. Time's arbitrary. And it's like, only you can figure that out. You have to not listen. You have to cut off your ears for a bit. It's all conscious, because it's like, even when you say things like that, it's not black and white with that. It's not black and white necessarily, because you can't not listen to nobody forever. Everyone has mentors. Everyone has people that they can gain knowledge from, that you can mold to your own experience in your own life, and model what it is you're doing off of.
I'll listen to anyone, but it's like,
you're not going to use everything everyone says. Exactly. But to get to that point, you need to slow down, because you need to know what knowledge is going to be useful to you and what's not. That's the most important thing.
It took, like, being extremely honest, it took me 4 years to release one book. And that's part of a whole legion of things that happened. From wanting to do scripts, from wanting to do movies, and well, actually, I wrote scripts for movies and TV shows. If you want to see that, if anybody important is listening, to wanting to do music videos and all of the things that I know how to do with my skill set, because of how my skill set is like situated. It's like, these are all of the things that I know how to do, and because now, like, I just really needed to release something, or well, when you get to the point you know that you're ready to release something, it's like, okay, so this is my level today. I done this with my highest skill, at my highest performance, and with time being my bitch, and all of these other things, and like listening to myself and making sure that this is all of myself, like this is my level today, and then that's a stamp in time. Like you stamp that in space and time, and that is part of what artists do. It's like when you're really doing from yourself, when you're really pulling from the infinite substance and projecting into reality. It's like you are forever cementing that moment in time, and then you can move on, or you can expound on that story and all of these other things.
Exactly.
And like, when people think, oh, fashion, tech, writing, like they're all different things, to me they're just one thing. Like it's like, and writing movies and writing books, it's like all of that is one thing, part of one world, but it just happens to come from one man. And because it's art, it's like I don't think about it as the mediums. It's like the mediums are also your plaything, just as time is your plaything. And because you're running on your own drum and like your own beat, it's like you have your own philosophy and principles and ethics that you live by. So everything that you're doing is from you, so it works by you and through you. Yeah.
That's true. And that's why as the conversations on the podcast evolve, like I know what stuff I want to get into. I want to get more into this world that I'm creating, and I want to be able to talk about it and feel confident in where it's at. And like for now, like that's why like I've kind of admitted to myself, and it's something I was even I had difficulty in wanting to admit that I am. I'm not that I'm stopping creating, because I'm always going to create. But right now it's about slowing down, making sense of what I'm currently doing and the ideas that I'm having, and having a plan, like an actual plan. And I need to slow down to do that. I need to slow down. I need to say no. That needs to be my greatest weapon right now. And I need to be able to just completely slow down and build the vision and implement everything piece by piece. And that is the only way that anything's going to work. Otherwise, I'm forever going to be
a beast of the time.
Yeah, and just disappoint in not just other people but myself, you know, with the things that I want to do and not really complete them in the way that I want to. And I think it's just time to stop doing that, because it's was it you that I had the conversation about synergy with?
Yeah.
I think it was. We had that conversation. Yeah. Well,
it came from
it's like everything can be so synergistic. If I think that's how it becomes synergistic, is when you've got a plan. That is how it almost. It's not that everything's always going to be rosy and dandy, but it's like when you know what you want, it's like other people are looking for other people that know what they want. At the end of the day, isn't it? That's who people want to be around. And it's like, even though it's not about other people, you need other people to work alongside to build and create whatever it is you want to create. And the more understanding you have of what you're doing, it's like the more you're going to be connected with people who can help these things come to play. And that's what I mean. It's like I like talking about things like this, but like I can't wait till, you know, as this podcast evolves and as our conversations are evolving, we're going more into the actual processes of how these things, like as the trajectory of our conversations, our careers, sort of like are coming more closer together in the sort of paths and journeys that we're on. You know, it's gonna be cool how that evolves. Like,
yeah, fam. Well, I feel like that's a good full stop on the end of the episode.
Boom.
Yes. Thank you for listening to this roller coaster of a cast
episode. Yeah. Take 2.5. 2 and 2
halves. Oh, fam. A tale of two halves. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter, actually Instagram and YouTube at Camaraderie Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and Culture and Camaraderie on YouTube. We've got bare videos up now, which is amazing. I love that so much. And what's the other thing?
Content.
My socials, NY Typical, and LAX_ERA.
Yep.
You can find
Follow
me
it up.
at NY Typical. You can find my book at Melancholy Maelstrom, A Diary of Silver Linings. On all your platforms, you can even ask a bookstore to bring it in, and they'll buy a bunch. If enough people ask, so that's amazing. This has been peace, blessings, and salutations. This has been an episode of Culture and Camaraderie podcast.
Episode 14.
14, nice.